Howdy, folks. Thanks for tuning in for another cruise with Smooth. Before I get into it today, if you like what you see, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Appreciate hearing from you folks whenever I get a comment. If you want to know my opinion on a thing, even if it's something I've never talked about before, don't mind doing the research and coming up with an opinion on something that y'all are curious about. So, I want to start out today by saying I am not making a presumption of guilt or innocence in what I'm about to say. It's just irritating. Now, I also want to say I am terrible with names. I used to work at a car dealership in the sales department, and that was my Achilles heel. I'd walk right up to some customers, introduce myself, get their names, and promptly forget. So, I'm not trying to, it's just a problem that I have. I'm terrible with names. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about today is everything going on in Wisconsin. There were riots that had happened long before anything got out in the news, official information. And the story in the news at first, and the story that got the riots started, is that the gentleman that got shot by the police in the back had gone to a woman's house to attempt to break up an argument and got shot by the police for his troubles. Okay? Now, in my opinion, that's worthy of doing something. But the actual story is that this guy is a registered sex offender. His priors include, I think, something involving a minor. I don't know 100% for certain what the specific charge is, but I know that that he was charged and convicted of something with a minor. So anyway, registered sex offender with a minor, and he had also been arrested on I don't know if it was a separate incident or not, but there's also a gun charge and a assault of an officer charge somewhere in there. What had happened originally is he had showed up at this woman's house and took her car keys, so she called the cops. He was not complying with the cops. He shrugged two cops off of him. They had him down on the ground, and he wrestled his way free. Well, then he went to reach into a vehicle that was his, that he had driven over there, was his, and that's when the cops shot him in the back. Well, turns out there was a knife or a gun. I'm not 100% sure on which. I've heard reports of both, but the source that I tend to lean toward does say that he had a knife. And for those of you that will say, you know, well, you never bring a knife to a gunfight, why'd they shoot him? Well, apparently you've never seen the wounds that a knife can cause to a person. So, and the thing is, the cops didn't know what was in the car at the time. He could have gone in there to grab a gun, knife, a cigarette. They didn't know. But the fact that he had just wrestled free of 2 cops and was not listening to instructions, I can definitely understand why they did not believe that he had their best interests at heart. And riots ensued from that. Buildings have been burned, businesses have been burned. And then there's another story about the 17-year-old boy that went out of state to... Okay, there's 2 competing stories here. I'm going to tell you the basic story and then the facts I know so far. He went there armed with the intention to hurt people, or armed hoping to get to hurt people or something like that. Okay. Well, turns out he killed 1 or 2 people and wounded 1 or 2 people. Okay? But that's not the end of the story. I watched a video the other day. I don't know what his certifications are or whatnot, but he actually showed up there as a paramedic. I don't know if he's trying to become an EMT when he turns 18 and taking some classes in high school. I don't know if he's got a parent that's a paramedic, and so he knows stuff even though he may not be certified through them. I don't know, but he showed up there to render first aid. And that's on video. And there's video proof where someone was having difficulties of some sort, that I don't know what, and he was walking towards them, trying to get the crowd out of his way, saying, "I'm a paramedic, watch out, I'm a paramedic, let me there," kind of thing. So, I can't believe that someone who went there to attempt to help the wounded or those that were otherwise having a difficult time health-wise was there to use people for target practice. Then, I don't know what exactly transpired because the details are not 100% clear at this point, but he somehow or another he ended up in a situation where there were some people attempting to hurt him, and I know he shot 1 person in the head. I know that he shot another person in the arm and wounded another person or killed another person. I know there's 3 people that he aimed his gun at and pulled the trigger, but I don't know if it was 2 hurt, 1 dead, or 2 dead, 1 hurt. I don't know. And one of the guys that he wounded, there's images that I've seen of this. The guy has a gun in his hand. And if you watch the video closely, you can see that right as he shoots him, the guy, he had been knocked to the ground. He spins around. There's a guy standing over him, pointing a gun at him. He swings his gun around and takes aim and fires and ends it. Now, I'm not saying that he's guilty or innocent in all this. I can definitely say that I understand the desire to be armed going into a situation like that. I don't know Illinois or Wisconsin's laws concerning the possession of a firearm by a minor. So he may or may not have broke a law there. I don't know. I think that anyone going to any of those rallies, protests, riots, because they are kind of all things, different people doing different things. I think anyone going to those to render aid, going to those to protect a business, going to those to talk to people, going to those to join in, whatever, I think you'd be, or just going to that area for a reason that's unavoidable. I think that if you don't arm yourself and aren't prepared to protect yourself with lethal force, you're being stupid. My opinion. Now, I'm not saying the kid's innocent of any charges. I don't know that he didn't start the whole thing, and then when it came crumbling down around him, he had to hurt some people and kill some people to protect himself. I don't know. But I do know that the news didn't give the full story. And that's very irritating, that there's aspects to the story that we didn't know, and that what is this guy doing? Okay. There's aspects of the story that we didn't know, and that definitely call the narrative originally put out there into question. Give you another case in point. Nick Sandman. That's one I remember. And those of you that don't remember, he was in D.C. with Covington Catholic School. And long and short, or the short version of the story, is that a Native American, he was standing there smiling at a Native American man who was banging his drum in his face, and Nick Sandman was wearing a MAGA hat. Well, the narrative that came out right after the video came out is that he was mocking this Native American man, and he had college opportunities withdrawn because his name became instantly famous overnight, or infamous, I should say, overnight. He had college opportunities withdrawn, was receiving death threats, was getting harassed on social media. He may have gotten kicked out of his school for it. That I don't recall for sure. I know that his school did issue some sort of a harsh statement with his name in it. So all the things happened to this kid. And it turns out that the reasoning behind it was 100% false. He was standing there at someplace in D.C., and there was kind of a lot going on. There was a bunch of people, gathered in protest and whatnot. And he was just there kind of taking in D.C., and this Native American man got up in his face and was banging his drum. And if you want to argue with me on the fact that they lied, he received $250 million payout from CNN to settle outside of court. And I've watched the videos. So it's just irritating to me how fast a incomplete or false narrative gets out in the news. Like, I understand everyone wants to be the late-breaking the one breaking the story first. But what good is it to break the story first if you have to edit it to the tune of $250 million a year later? or print a retraction. I don't understand why the news is structured the way that it is. And the thing is, like, okay, the Nick Sandman thing, I don't even understand why that was news at the time. No one got hurt, no one was injured, it didn't affect stock prices, no one declared war, the list of things that didn't happen because of that story. I don't understand why it was news. Frankly, if no one picked it up and ran with it, and outrage and cancel culture wasn't a thing, no one would know his name, no one would say anything about it, he would be $250 million poorer than he is right now. So, it's just, I've heard this theory, the multiverse theory, which is, for those of you that don't know, watch Doctor Strange. But essentially, the multiverse theory among the academics states that for every possible binary decision, there's a universe that exists where you made the other decision. So instead of turning left out of your driveway, you turned right. Instead of eggs and bacon, you cooked sausage and eggs for breakfast. So, you know, there's a ton of universes, and then every decision after that that's affected that's different. And the theory going right now is that we live in the dumbest one. And I tend to agree. So, anyway, that's it for me for today. Tired of things being the way they are. I'm tired of the news being the way it is. If they have a story that is incomplete, they ought to at least say, hey, you know, there's still facts coming in about this, we may have to change our position, but don't take a hard opinion on it. Just, hey, here's a thing that happened, here's what we know. The end. But what do I know? Anyway, folks, that's it for me for today. Thanks for tuning in for another cruise of Smooth. Hope y'all have a good one. Stay safe out there.